In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve relationship problems in 3 steps. Step 1. The reason you have relationship problems is because you don't communicate on your growth areas with your partner. So, if you want to solve your relationship problems, the first step is learning to ask your partner for feedback. Once a day, ask them, what's one thing I did right today, and what's one thing I could have done better? When you ask for that feedback, you're going to allow your partner to communicate and to open up, and that's going to prevent them from stuffing their feelings and then blowing up, because that's what causes relationship problems. So step 1 is you ask your partner for constructive feedback every day so that they don't blindside you. Step 2, after asking your partner for feedback on what you did right from the day and what you could have done better, you say thank you for the feedback, and then you're going to search for the kernel of truth. See how small that kernel is? You're just looking for what's the kernel of truth here. You don't have to swallow all their feedback. You don't have to own all of what they said, because some of it was probably circumstantial. Some of it might be your partner. They have a sensitivity. So you're just thinking of what's the kernel of truth? What's the piece here that I can own? The piece here that I probably could do better. That's what you're thinking about inside your head. You're rebuttaling in your head while you're thinking about the kernel of truth. Step 3, once you discern the kernel of truth, now you have to do something about it. Put it into action. Maybe that means changing your mindset. Maybe that means changing a behavior. But once you figure out what the kernel of truth is in the feedback, do something about it. Here's an example from my marriage. So my wife and I have the habit of asking each other once a day, what's one thing I did right today? What's one thing I could have done better? Then we say thank you for the feedback. And recently she gave me the feedback of, when I share something, often you're skeptical and you don't believe me and you want to double check the facts. And that makes me feel like you don't trust me. So I said, thank you for the feedback. And then I mulled that over the next day and thought about it. And I realized a couple things. One is, my wife growing up, no one believed her. That's a scar for her. That's a sensitivity for her. And so she's extra sensitive when I do it because of her past. That's not my fault. Another thing is sometimes my wife will share things that are a little more far-fetched, and they're harder for me to believe it, hook, line, and sinker without double checking. That's a circumstance. That's something that she does that makes it harder for me. However, I also realize that I tend to be a skeptic. I tend to not want to trust something unless I research it for myself, and that's the kernel of truth that I can work on. So when my wife is sharing something with me, I need to work on giving her more of the benefit of the doubt. That was the change. That's the kernel of truth. And that's what I started working on to improve. So that's how to solve relationship problems in 3 steps. Number 1, start asking for constructive feedback so you don't get blindsided. Number 2, think about the kernel of truth. And number 3, do something about it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to click the share button and leave a comment and subscribe for future episodes. And for the full episode, check out the Dr. Wyatt Show podcast wherever you get your podcast.